Hi, I'm Caitlin. I've enjoyed watching and listening to your video lectures this quarter, so I'm kind of excited for the opportunity to be able to communicate back to you in this way. The topic that I chose to research for this project was Dolly Parton, and more specifically, the influences in her life that affected her songwriting career, as well as some of the influences that she had on music, being one of the biggest female artists of her time. So, to start off, a little bit about Parton's childhood. Dolly Parton was born and raised in an impoverished region of the East Tennessee mountains. She claims to have felt a large connection with and draw to music from her earliest childhood memories. Parton's mother always sang to her when she was growing up and was a very encouraging and supportive figure throughout her life and in her childhood musical aspirations. Her mom wrote down lyrics to the first songs that Parton ever wrote and sang, such as a song called Tiny Little Tassel Top. So, coming from a very poor family, Parton really had to entertain herself with whatever was available to her. And one of those things were tassel tops, which were dolls that Parton and her siblings would make out of dried corn cobs, and they'd cover them with rags to look like clothes or dresses. And Parton always had a very active imagination, so she was able to get a lot of joy out of little things like the tassel tops. So, the lyrics that her mom recorded to that song were, "Little tiny tassel top, I love you an awful lot. Corn silk hair and big brown eyes, how you make me smile. Little tiny tassel top, you're the only friend I've got. Hope you never go away, I want you to always stay." So Parton claimed to have written this song when she was 5 or 6. And I firmly believe that her active imagination in things such as this were probably one of the greatest influences in her songwriting career. And general music career. So, another factor in her life was her religious background. Her grandpa was a preacher at the church that Dolly Parton's family attended. And this church was a very open concept kind of church. They were very open to visitors and very open to different styles of preaching and learning. So when Parton was younger, she would perform to the congregation there sometimes, some of her music. And then you can kind of see how the spiritual background played into Parton's songs. She has somewhat of a wide discography of just like religious type of songs about higher powers or religion. Another important factor in Parton's musical career was her family in general. They really helped Parton all the way through her journey and right from the very beginning. As I understand it, I think the most influential family member was Dolly Parton's Uncle Bill. His name was Bill Owens. Uncle Bill, as he's referred to, gave Parton her first ever guitar and really pushed her to learn to play it. When Parton was 10 years old, her Uncle Bill got her a gig playing on the local radio station for a man named Cass Walker. So she was already starting to put her music out into the world by the age of 10 years old. When Parton started to record her music at the age of 13, only 3 years later, Bill would drive her to Nashville for the recording sessions. So Uncle Bill was, whatever car he had available, he would be driving himself and Dolly Parton back and forth from Nashville to go record things and to go meet people for Dolly's career. He helped Parton write many of her songs, and that's for years and years that he did that, like all the way into when she was working with other artists in the industry later in her career. And then when Parton turned 18 and graduated high school, she moved to Nashville with Uncle Bill to advance her career. When she first moved to Nashville, she struggled to make progress in the first 3 years or so, but then she met a man named Porter Wagner and agreed to join his troupe as the female singer. He needed a female voice. So Wagner greatly helped Parton with her musical improvement, just helped her advance her solo career a little bit too, but they proved to be a fantastic duo. They were so popular that they were nominated for the Grammys in 1969, 1970, 1971, and 1973, like, nominated together for the Grammys. And then, though the two were very successful musically, they often argued and struggled to agree with one another. And on top of that, Parton's solo career had started to take off, kind of around, like, the early to mid-1970s. So from 1971 to 1975, Parton made 10 solo #1 hits, and Wagner hadn't had a solo success on the charts since 1972. Also, it's important to note that Parton was only making $200 to $350 per concert that she would perform with Wagner, and that was for the entirety of the 7 years that she worked with him. There was not an increase in pay. There was not a lot of building up from that. She didn't have a way to progress musically with him, so she felt kind of stuck. And so that was a pretty big factor in her decision to break away from Wagner. So with Wagner's help and partnership, Parton achieved a lifelong dream of becoming a cast member of the Grand Ole Opry in 1969. But in 1974, Dolly Parton initially decided to step away from Wagner. And Wagner sued her for $1 million and continued to release her music until 1976. But yeah, that was very helpful in her ability to progress and her ability to advance on her own. So, having come to understand the influences of Parton's past, I kind of want to shift the focus to the influences that Parton has made herself on the world and on the musical industry. So, I think Parton's most well-known, or it's in the top 5 Dolly Parton songs, is 9 to 5. I'm sure you've heard it. Working 9 to 5. So this song, she also had a movie called 9 to 5, and I haven't seen the movie, but from my understanding, it's very similar to the message of the song, and the song has aided the feminist movement for as long as it has existed. So, the song and the film are about the struggles and the discrimination that working women face in a patriarchal society. So, when Parton started her career, she was very much working in a male-dominated industry. The country industry at the time was extremely male-dominated, and though there were female artists, and she drew off inspiration off of those, such as Kitty Wells, she was kind of paving her own way in a sense because of how male-dominated it was. And she faced a lot of obstacles, such as judgment for her looks and unfair wages, as we discussed with Wagner and his troupe. But she has released, since 9 to 5, she's released also other songs about the difficulties of being a working woman and powering through those difficulties. But yeah, that was a pretty big influence, the way that she was so open about her struggles in the industry, because I don't think it was common to be open about that in the time, or to talk about it at all. It's kind of a hush-hush thing. So that was highly influential. And then a significantly less visible or political influence that Parton has had on music is the countless songs that she has written for other artists. Some of the top artists that she has written for are Kenny Rogers, for whom she wrote The Stranger. She wrote There'll Always Be Music for Tina Turner. She wrote Kentucky Gambler for Merle Haggard. And Whitney Houston's huge hit, I Will Always Love You, was a Dolly Parton creation. So as she worked with all these people, she created a huge network for herself. She was kind of putting her influence out into the world indirectly through those songs, without even having sung them herself. But she also remade a lot of those songs after they were released by the artist she made them for herself. So, yeah, that was a good influence on, her ability to sell her music and to get herself out there. And through that network of celebrities, she even would sing it. She performed at funerals, such as Tammy Wynette's funeral. So, yeah, lots of celebrity success which probably helped to advance her career a lot. Another thing, Dolly has always been known for her loud, flashy appearance. So she always wore and probably continues to wear many grand, colorful outfits, both when performing and just when out in public. You can see them through like her interviews and in the pictures of the book that I was going through, like tons of sequins and like bright colors and lace and just big, flashy things all the time. And she got a lot of backlash from the public about her appearance when she was new in the music industry. Journalists and interviewers seem to often ask Parton why she dressed the way she did. In an interview in 1977, Barbara Walters told Parton, "You don't have to look like this. You're very beautiful. You don't have to wear the blonde wigs. You don't have to wear the extreme clothes, all right?" And Parton responded by saying that her flashy outfits were a choice, and quote, "I would never stoop so low as to be fashionable. That's the easiest thing in the world to do." So Parton used her appearance to catch the attention of the public. She talked about this both in the interview as well as in the book. She wanted to be different. She wanted to stand out. So she would use her appearance to initially catch people's attention. But she further remarked in the interview, once they got past the shock of the ridiculous way I looked and all that, then they would see there was parts of me to be appreciated. I'm very real where it counts, and that's inside, as far as my outlook on life and the way I care about people and the way I care about myself. So Parton knew who she was. She always knew who she was, and she portrayed a lot of confidence in herself and in her abilities. So I think her confidence in her flashy appearance was inspirational to generations. I've seen the impact that she's made reflected in and talked about in things like the LGBTQ plus community, drag queens who dress as Dolly Parton or impersonators, things like that. So her inspiration in that way, and her ability to wear whatever she wanted and, not necessarily go with the fashion flow, will probably continue to live on through those who study her and those who impersonate her, things like that. Dolly Parton has been very charitable with her income throughout her life. So my favorite example of this is her Imagination Library. Parton launched the Imagination Library in 1995, and it initially distributed books only to children in Sevier County, Tennessee. So a lot of her starting foundations had to do with a little county in Tennessee, like probably a really poor county, if I had to guess. So that's where it started, where they started distributing. The effort grew and expanded throughout the years. In 2002, Native American communities were added to the list of those receiving books. In 2004, Imagination Library went statewide throughout Tennessee. And then by 2013, Imagination Library had spread through the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and even to Australia. In 2011, the Imagination Library began distributing audiobooks and braille books so that more children than just able-bodied children could benefit from the program. And then by 2018, the 100 millionth book was dedicated to the Library of Congress from Imagination Library. So they had donated 100 million books. And I think shortly after that, they donated the 150 millionth. And by 2022, they were donating 2 million books per month to children around the world. So Parton expresses a lot of passion in instilling faith and confidence in children. She released an entire children's album titled I Believe in You in 2017. So she definitely spent a lot of time focusing on children and instilling the values that she believes matters. So to summarize, Dolly Parton experienced a vast range of influences throughout her childhood. She was raised in poverty. She was raised in religion and remains highly spiritual. She had a loving and supportive family with people pushing her to exceed, namely Uncle Bill. And she gained a lot of experience through individuals in the industry, such as Porter Wagner. So Parton chose to make the best of everything she went through, good or bad. She used her experience with poverty to write meaningful songs about hardship. Her spiritual background is evident in a lot of her music, as she has quite a few songs that refer to God and or higher powers. She continues to involve her family in her career to this day. Her relatives perform and work at her foundation, Dollywood. And through Porter Wagner, she became a member of the Grand Ole Opry and developed valuable skills to move forward with her solo career. The way that she chose to use her circumstances to overcome her previous circumstances is highly inspirational to me. The influences she has exerted on the world are bountiful as well. She uses her success as a platform to inspire and directly benefit others. She makes it known that she dresses how she wants for her own reasons and doesn't care what other people think. Her iconic looks have become popular, especially in the LGBTQ plus community. She writes songs for many celebrities, which indirectly affected popular music. She has released music and other media such as 9 to 5, which are highly empowering to the feminist movement. And lastly, she has spent a lot of time and money on foundations such as the Imagination Library, which directly benefits children everywhere, regardless of family income. You don't have to be poor in order to receive books from the Imagination Library, which is really cool. Her foundations, music, and means of expression will continue to live on even long after she dies. She is sure to be considered a highly influential woman. So, that was the information that I found about Dolly Parton. The sources that I used for this project are the book, Dolly Parton Songteller, My Life and Lyrics, by Dolly Parton and Robert K. Oerman. I used the Dolly Parton biography from www.loc.gov, which is the Library of Congress. I used the 1977 interview with Barbara Walters. You sent me that. It's found on YouTube under a profile called Happy Mag. The video is titled Dolly Shuts Down Patronizing Interview and Style. And lastly, I used the Imagination Library official website, imaginationlibrary.com. So, thank you for everything. I really enjoyed your class, and I really liked being able to have multiple opportunities for a final, because I feel like I do better talking than I do writing. So, thanks, Jeff.